Gage Gallagher is the third place winner of the biggest competition game show in television history.
It was just so freaking cool.
And it all came down to one incredible risk, a $10 million coin flip, an official Guinness World Record.
I mean, to flip a coin for $10 million is...
In this episode, Gage opens up about what he was feeling during that historic coin flip.
I mean, what other opportunity are you going to have to do that?
Explains why he's quitting his job to pursue his dream of music.
Beast Games.
Elaborates on the emotions behind winning $1 million.
I would say it's number one with the best decisions I've ever made. I mean, I love my life and everything.
And exposes how Beast Games transformed his belief in God.
I would say, of course they're closer to God now because they won $1 million and...
Welcome back to the show, Respectfully Inspired with Auzi Films. Today, I'm here with my guest, Gage Gallagher. Gage Gallagher was number 974 in the Beast Games. He's also the iconic man who flipped a coin for $5 million, which is an official Guinness World Record. He left the show in third place out of 2,000 people and walked away with $1 million. Gage, go ahead and introduce yourself the way you want to be introduced.
Oh man, Auzi. Thank you so much for having me. This has been quite an experience, quite a journey, and I've been really looking forward to speaking with you on your podcast because, I mean, we've been talking about it for a while, and we finally nailed down a time, and here we are.
Gage, you are one of the people's favorites. I see it all over Reddit. It's hard to make it on the Reddit good side. Reddit hates most of us, including me. But I'm sure they want to know a little bit about your story. And we should start with how you found out Beast Games. Why'd you apply? Do you watch MrBeast? What happened?
You know what? I do watch MrBeast. I've been I love YouTube. I've always been a fan of people that were able to create their own content, be able to get it out there and be successful. And I started out, back in I remember 2009, 2010, watching Smosh, watching Charles Trippy, Shay Carl, Shay Tards, the whole vlogging thing. So that got me into YouTube, and I've been a fan of MrBeast and what he's been able to do, all of his videos. That was a transition, right? From YouTube. It's a whole nother thing now. It's a completely separate experience in terms of watching with the very quick editing style and everything like that. But been a fan of MrBeast, and I was working as an EMT, and I was on a trip from Big Bear, which is a local mountain here in Southern California, and my parents bring me up there every year, and we were fishing, and for some reason, I even forget now, I came back down to my home here in San Clemente and living with my parents. And I was on my phone. I was about to head back up to the mountain. And I was on Instagram. And I saw an ad through Mystic Art Productions. And they were casting. And I'm like, why the heck not? So I applied, filled out all the paperwork, submitted a 1-minute long video, which I had to make exactly 1 minute long. It took me 11 takes. My OCD brain was they're not going to accept me unless I make it exactly 1 minute. So I try to include little bits and pieces of my life with the fire department and music and everything. And I wrote a little song for the show. And yeah, that's how I got in.
Wow, you wrote a song for the show. Maybe if you let me, we can put that at the end of the podcast.
Oh, for sure, dude. Yeah. It's pretty embarrassing. But hey, it's fun.
Hey, that's good though, because you're saying it's embarrassing. You're saying I can put it at the end, which means we're we're beastified. We're giving the viewers a reason to watch all the way through.
There we go. If you want to see some embarrassment secondhand, yeah.
Where does that decision to apply for Beast Games rank on the best decisions you've ever made?
I would say it was, I think it's probably I would honestly say it's number one. I would say it's number one with the best decisions I've ever made. Yeah. I mean, I love my life and everything, and I've made some good decisions, but in terms of impact and in terms of what I like foresee, like my life, where my life's going and the direction it's going, I think this is like one of the biggest catalysts to be able to like completely like do a 180.
You shared with me a little bit off camera, but when you say a catalyst for your life to change, how do you see your life before Beast Games, and how do you foresee it going from Beast Games?
I mean, I envisioned a career in the fire department. Like I was on track for going to paramedic school, going to a fire academy, and wanting to have a kind of a life of service and routine and family. Like I've always wanted a family. I've always looked up to my siblings. I have a half sister and a half brother, and my brother is a captain with the fire department, and his kids, my nephews, are both firefighter paramedics, and I mean they have a great life. I look up to them a lot, but I always felt like I had kind of 1 foot in and 1 foot out in terms of, was this like the lifestyle for me? Like I was already working as an EMT for 3 years, and just God bless everyone that works in EMS. It's no joke. The sleep dysregulation and the traumatic events that you're put through. It's difficult. It's really difficult. And I don't know if I would have been able to deal with it, long term.
And so now, going forward from these games, you have $1 million. What are you going to do with it? Where is your career going?
For the most part, it's up in the air. I mean, I have some projects that I really have been wanting to like pour myself into. I mean, I haven't been able to logistically, just in terms of time and finances, but I mean, I love music. Music is like a huge passion for me. I've always enjoyed using like singing and guitar as an outlet for getting my emotions out there, because sometimes I have a hard time speaking with people and being open and vulnerable. But when I get into a room, when I'm by myself and I'm playing the guitar, I'm able to emotionally and lyrically kind of connect simultaneously and get myself into a place that I feel I can be authentic.
So a career in music would be...
That would be awesome.
That would be ideal.
That would be ideal. That would be really cool.
Can the viewers who are watching this, can they expect any music from you online?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's in the works right now. That's happening very soon. I think I'm going to start with artists and use their songs to kind of show what I've been through and relate with in terms of their style, and show appreciation through covers, and then trickle in my own art and kind of coincide what has helped me and what I've related to the most, and then be able to present new ideas and new thoughts and my own personal kind of experience through my own art.
Do you have an artist name decided, or is it just going to be...
There's a couple of art. I mean, I think Gage would probably just be like, I don't know, Gage Gallagher.
Gage or Gage Gallagher?
I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, guys, comment below names for Gage.
I mean, there's two other names that I've always kind of related to. One is like a friend, just like a friend. And then Heel House. I don't know, kind of, yeah.
But yeah, I would expect house music from Heel House.
Yeah, I know, right?
I actually made music in the past, and my artist name is funny, because you said a friend, the artist name I had was Your Homie.
That's cool, dude.
I posted one song and then I never posted it again because I was shy.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I was.
Do you have
Project
it?
Syndrome.
Oh, is it out there?
I think I got really embarrassed of it and tried to scrub it from the internet. I would debate showing you it. It wasn't good.
All right. Comment below if you want to see Auzi's music. You'll see it at the end of this podcast.
I don't know if you're comfortable sharing this. You shared this with me off camera. You're inspired by YouTube, and you had shared off camera with me that you actually made an attempt at YouTube.
No.
Do you want to tell that story?
Sure, yeah. Oh, man. I know. I was driving in the car with you last night on the way back from LA. And yeah, I shared that like in high school. And even before that, like I was really into content creation, like filming. And I loved editing as well. And there was one that I didn't tell you. And there's two experiences, and I think those two experiences back to back allowed for me to not want to engage with content creation at the time, at least, due to the internet not being critical at all. No one's critical on the internet. No one has a negative opinion on anything. But so I made a video. And it was something silly. Like I had a bunk bed at the time and there was a desk underneath it and it was kind of dark. And I made a video of me like going up to the camera, right? And I pretended that I was like being hunted or like searched by either like something or someone. And I made it really vague. And I was like, they're going to find me and I'm hiding. So I'm hiding. And then I didn't really even edit this because it was all just one shot. But I'm going up to the camera trying to do my best impersonation of some semblance of like, those like one-off, like capture horror movies. Like Paranormal Activity, right? I think that was big at the time.
Like the camcorder.
Yeah. Like the handheld, like Blair Witch Project, right? Yeah. So I did something like that, and I went up to the camera, and then I hid, and then without editing, I go back, and then I'm the person that's the pursuer, the one that's like the monster that's trying to find myself, and at the very end of the video, I like start to, I pretend to like attack the camera and then it cuts, right? So after uploading that, I just uploaded it because I thought it was funny. And I think the first comment that I got was, "You need psychological help. Don't ever like post again," something to that effect. So that made me, I was very sensitive. So as when I was younger, so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, will do. Well, I will never post again. I took his advice, which don't take advice from someone, by the way, if they're going to be like that negative, unless like it's a whole bunch of people, and then maybe they have some validity. But if it's just one person, Anyways, from that, and then there was another video where I was super into like voice acting and doing like impersonations. And there was this one comedian that I used to watch. His name was Pablo Francisco, and he had a great bit like of an Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation, and also like the movie voice guy. And I think I posted myself like trying to impersonate him doing the movie voice guy, and posted that again, kind of the same effect, like, you're an idiot, you need help. And I'm like, okay, cool, yep, there's something wrong with me for sure, so I'm not going to post anymore. And that kind of stopped my artistic endeavor into posting things or creating content.
That's interesting because it's been years from then to now.
Sure.
But you didn't have the growing phase that I had where I went from, no comments to a couple negative comments to a little bit working my way up to this moment on Beast Games, which is still less than your moment. Since you came from a sensitive past, obviously you've grown as a person. What is it like having so many people on the internet talk about you? And you do have a relatively positive viewpoint.
Honestly, dude, I don't check it that much, so I don't know to what extent people have been talking about me. I hear it from, you and other like close friends that were in the show, like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, no, they love you or whatever. It's just like, I mean, it's cool that I have a positive impact now. It kind of makes up for all of the negativity back then.
Is there a reason you don't check it? Or you just don't?
From what I've heard from other creators, they've said, like, for example, Joe Rogan. I mean, that's a kind of a,
Yeah.
it's a contrast because he's so popular. Like, he probably has so many comments. It's just overwhelming, right? You can't really check anything. But he said, he gave advice like, just don't really care what other people think. Just continue going. And I feel like, because now I'm delving into that realm, right? I'm trying to pursue content creation in terms of music, expressing myself, making videos. I want to find a happy medium of being able to be open to like critique, but also differentiate between people that are giving constructive criticism versus just, hate comments.
I've always heard, don't read your comments, don't look into it too much. I've disregarded that in a great aspect when I search up my number on Twitter or I go on Reddit, because I wouldn't be in those places if I didn't seek them out.
Sure.
But then there's like the aspect of like, I go on Instagram and someone just DMs me and I'm just checking my DMs as I always have.
Yeah.
I don't usually get DMs from strangers, or if I do, they're related to the podcast, or there's some sexual bot. And then I just go in there. It's like, I hate you. You screwed the Orange team. You watched Survivor.
You watch Survivor.
I'm like trying to look for the hate. I have also, like on my most recent Instagram post, where I talk about my experience on these games, it's so much love, but then there's just like a few people who find it and they're just throw some hate. And then obviously the podcast, I always like interacting with the audience and like commenting back and stuff, but it is interesting. I would say too, because I didn't know how I would handle the hate. For me, I feel like hate only hurts when it's rooted in reality. And since like 90% of the hate I get is just, you watch Survivor, he's a effing rock climber, I'm able to be like, okay, this is not logical hate because...
Right. They don't know the full story.
He weighs 50 more pounds yet. But I do imagine there would probably be a day in my career where I do something dumb. And people will highlight that dumb moment, and I'm sure I'll get very insecure. But...
No, I can understand that. I think that's maybe my fear, or I'm trying to protect myself, from actually finding someone that pinpoints something that's true and that will actually sting. And like, maybe that will kind of, I guess, affect me and reorient what I want to do. Because I am really serious about this whole career, content creation, I don't want to have any, life is so short. As I'm getting older, I'm 33 now, I'm realizing, you gotta make the best of the opportunities that you have. And I think this is forcing me to kind of just work through all of that self-doubt and wanting to be clear-minded, and also stay in line with like not only the vision that like I want to have, but also align myself with God's plan for me. And I think that a lot of people, the community that I've recently encountered is so, I mean, it's crazy, and you were a huge part of the show. So many believers, right? It was incredible.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. I have more viewership and more awesome guests coming on my show than ever before, and I just want to say thank you. If you're enjoying this episode, would you consider subscribing? It really helps me grow the podcast and invest in better guests like Gage, invest in better quality cameras, and just make the best conversations possible for you guys. Enjoy the rest of this episode. You said another thing to me last night that I thought was beautiful, because you said Beast Games of the $1 million is giving you a chance to do what you want in life. But then I think I asked you something to the lines of, are you scared or worried about it not working out? And you essentially said, and correct me if I'm wrong because I'm trying to quote you in hopes that I can spark what you said.
Sure.
You said, I'm not worried because I've already been down the other path. And I'm someone 23, so I'm exactly 10 years younger than you.
Yep.
And I guess I went to college for 2 years, which could be considered a traditional path. And there's nothing wrong with college, but I will say traditional in the sense that I knew what I wanted to do. College wasn't necessarily in line with what I wanted to do. But for almost as long as I've pursued a career, I've pursued what I wanted to do. And I haven't made it yet, but I haven't tried the other path. Like, I've just been, everyone says to do it young, so I'm just doing it young. And you kind of opened up and said, well, I've spent the 10 years doing the other path, and so I'm not worried to pursue what I want to do because I've already tried the other option. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think I touched on it a little bit in terms of there's always, if you're willing to see your life, from kind of, if you step outside of yourself a little bit, and then you can see patterns that, in general, other people have lived out and you've heard from their experiences. For example, I've seen my brother and his experience with his career, fire department, great job. And also, I mean, my mom, my dad a little bit more, he's more on the entrepreneurial side. My brothers too, but I mean, the safe, kind of career oriented, you get, the W-2, you get paid, someone else is paying you, they're telling you what to do. You're living within these confines of, tasks that you're being told what to do. And even within those jobs, I mean, there's managerial positions where you're able to have a little bit more freedom to be able to have fluidity, and you have to have the ability to critically think and through these things. And I mean, I've been in jobs where I've had to do, for example, Amazon delivery driving, right? You have a phone, you have an app that you're using, you know exactly where to go, they tell you where to go, and you're delivering packages, and you do that over and over and over and over and over and over. Same task, same thing, over and over and over and over. And then there's in my experience with tennis coaching, for example, and I've played tennis since I was 3, and I've kind of grown to know how to teach tennis through my experience and through that kind of innate ability to take a skill and adapt it to my being in and of itself, like muscle memory. But then on top of that, having that foundation of knowing something so well, you're able to kind of not think and have that awareness to the point where it's more of an art. Like, you feel one with the skill to be able to take someone that doesn't know anything or maybe has a problem, and then automatically it feels magical in a way where you are able to, you take the skill and the talent and blend the two to be able to cultivate this sense of I'm just doing this automatically, and it's almost not even like you're there anymore. It's like you're being told these things and seeing these things that normally, if you're not adept at something, you don't really see it. But it opens up a whole new world of potential. For example, you and your content creation, right? You're binded to these ways in which to operate with, setting up lights, setting up the camera settings, everything like that. But then there's a whole nother level of just even our conversation right now. You don't have, I even asked you before, do you have a script? Do you have any sort of questions already pre-planned that you're going to ask me? And you're like, no, I kind of just, go with the flow. Mm-hmm. And I think that flow is where I feel when I'm able to, and whatever I do, be able to get into that flow is so meaningful to me. And like that, the process of being able to just naturally do something is where I always want to stay, no matter what I do. And there's always that phase of, having to learn something, having to learn a new skill. And it's hard. But once you get to a point where you're able to find the comfort of just having things come naturally, that's like the best.
Do you think that flow state is exclusive to a dream career?
I don't think it's exclusive to a dream career, because you can learn something well enough. I mean, if you put in 10,000 hours at your job, even if you don't like it, let's say, I mean, it takes obviously 10,000 hours, but then you're able to be comfortable at it. So in contrast with the job that I saw myself, or potentially saw myself doing in the fire department, you helping people, you're right in the back of the ambulance, you're doing things that are in procedurally that you've learned, but then you always can go one step beyond just doing the tasks and kind of seeing ahead what needs to be done. And there's also like new situations that come up that you're able to really kind of jump ahead and be able to know things before they present themselves. So I feel like the career that I had, I would be able to get into that state. But for me, I've always been working on music. I've always been working on like being able to emotionally connect with people, not as much as I want to, because it's hard for me because I'm more introverted. But I think I've come to the point where this is like a perfect place for me to be able to like show and represent who I am in trying to be authentic and help people through art. Like I've always been more open in terms of my personality. It's hard for me to stay like consistent and do the same thing over and over and over again. I like change. I like to do a whole bunch of different things. So I feel like this right now, the content creation, you can make like even in podcasts, right? Even in interviewing people, you're always in a different place. You're always talking to a different person, talking about different topics. I think it's just this whole creative realm is so inspiring and motivating to me.
That's interesting. It made me think about shiny object syndrome. I always tell people I started YouTube in high school, and since I started YouTube, I tried music, signed up for acting portfolios, didn't do many gigs, even did stand-up comedy like a couple times.
That's cool.
And then went to podcasting. And I used to feel so guilty about it. I used to feel if I had just done YouTube for the past 5 years, I would have made it big. But then, first of all, it's not guaranteed that would happen. But second of all, making it big was defined as subscribers and views, and less the art of making YouTube videos. But it doesn't change the fact that I have shiny object syndrome. And the reason I have shiny object syndrome is...
Define shiny object syndrome.
It's when you always want to do the next thing. So instead of going 5 years in YouTube, I go a year in YouTube and then I go, oh, but making music would be a good career. Hold up.
Yeah.
This shiny object.
Yeah.
Oh, but stand-up comedy would be cool. This shiny object.
Yeah.
And I had explained the idea of depth versus exploration to you. So like depth versus exploration in the career. The deepest career, in my opinion, would be something like an Olympic athlete. From the day they're born, they do the one sport they do until they're 20 and they're in the Olympics. And, then they do it. They don't really do anything else until they're like 30. And they just go so deep. They spend their entire life in one sport. And that would be like the depth side of a career, and the exploration side of a career would be someone who gets a new job every year or every 6 months.
Yeah.
And there's pros and cons. Like when you explore, you get to try a lot of things, and therefore you get to learn a lot of things, but you're not an expert in any one thing as much as someone who stays in one thing. But one of the reasons I love YouTube, and I guess this could be applied to content creation, is because I do get to put that 10,000 hours into this one thing, in the sense that I want to be one of the best. I want to be like Joe Rogan, Chris Williamson, Stephen Bartlett, compete in that sphere.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to post 1,000 podcasts. But so in that sense, it fulfills like becoming the best and that dedication. But like you said, I still get to travel, see different places, record in different places, have many different conversations with different people. When people ask me what niche I'm in, I tell them my purpose, but I don't tell them a niche because I don't want to be confined to a niche. So even if that makes it harder to grow, I still get to satisfy my shiny object syndrome by not limiting myself to only podcasts about Beast games, which is why this is probably the last podcast about Beast games. And so I think music is the same in the sense that you will forever be playing your guitar, but you can make a million different songs. I think that's the one really cool part about pursuing a dream career in content creation. But then I also think time, location, freedom. You can be a football player and make millions of dollars, but you still have to show up to practice every day and go to the games on Sunday. So you don't have that time, location, freedom.
Yeah.
I love operating on my own time. I love being my own boss.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm willing to put the work in for a career like this.
Because no matter what, you have to put the work in. You have to put the time and effort. And I feel like work is not even a good descriptor word, because this doesn't feel like work. I've looked at other people that are doing this sort of thing, and obviously I haven't gone in depth to like looking at the analytics of everything and what it takes to be able to be so honed in on the details, but being able to have something that you're able to kind of find a project or find a subject. Not only just music, but I'm into fitness too. I have several projects like lined up in my head that I want to do, and just the array of like the diversity of what this whole like YouTube thing, the whole YouTube sphere, like Instagram, TikTok, social media sphere allows people to do is incredible. It's so cool.
Yeah. And I think another thing worth mentioning is, no matter what your dream career is, there's always aspects of it you're not going to like and you have to do. And I think something with picking your dream career is picking a career where the aspects you hate the most are relatively less than other careers' aspects you hate the most. Like, I mean, I'm not that passionate about editing. I especially don't like the fact that I have the conversation and then I rewatch the conversation like 40 times. Or like, no, that's an exaggeration. Like 3 or 4 times, but it's an hour-long conversation that I have once or twice a week, and then I have to rewatch myself have the same conversation like 3 or 4 times.
Right.
I never expected to have to be some expert thumbnail editor. And that's like one of the parts that I really didn't like at first, but the better I get at it, the more enjoyable it becomes.
Yeah.
There's so many things like when pursuing a dream career where like I never knew I was gonna have to do that, and you're gonna hit all those in music where it's like, oh, how do I sell tickets to my show? I didn't know I was gonna have to be a marketer to my show,
Right?
And that's but it is fun. Like it's fun in like that entrepreneur fulfilling sense, but it's also draining.
Yeah. Well, because you can see the results too pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's either, I mean, not in terms of success, like potentially maybe, but it takes a long time. And you know, the whole concept of it doesn't really satisfy you deeply unless it's difficult. The harder something is to attain, the more worthwhile it is. And I think that it's weird because this game, in and of itself, like it was hard. It was hard, but it didn't feel real a lot of the times because I just kept going, and like by chance or by divine intervention, and I believe a lot of it was divine intervention, but I feel like there was a lot of, I mean, we can touch on like our experience together with the monster trucks and that whole thing.
We should dive into that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the last thing you reminded me of is a psychology effect called the IKEA effect, where people report being happier with furniture they buy from IKEA, but what they mean by they buy from IKEA is furniture they build themselves.
Right.
So if someone has a couch built and delivered, they won't feel as satisfied as if they built it themselves, which is interesting because that's essentially you could apply that to the career.
Sure.
Although, I do want to talk about the divine moments.
Yeah.
I have said the same kind of thing to a lot of people in the top 10, which I always hope it doesn't come off insulting, but
it will. Just kidding.
I
have very dry humor, by the way, so if I say something that seems like it's serious, it's probably not.
Yes. I was going to say...
Sorry.
Jeff said to me, I didn't deserve the 10 million, but I earned it. And I thought that was really interesting because I guess what he's saying is... Well, I don't know what he's saying, but... the reason I brought it up is that phrase kind of encapsulates what I think about when I think about the fact that the top 10, not just the top 10, me being in the top 60, was so much out of my control. I mean, if we take your gameplay, you contributed to grabbing the flag in Vegas. You contributed to stacking those blocks. Those were solo successes.
Sure.
Then rose sacrifice, bribes, none of that stuff really. What tower were you on? You were on 2-star with me.
2-star.
It was all self-sacrifices.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. So, for example, going back to day one, I mean, even the flags, right? I think it was not all about, but what contributed, at least personally to my experience, was being willing to work with people, being willing to connect and put other people ahead of me, and therefore I was returned the favor to a certain degree. Blocks, for sure, it took my time, but even 2-star, what happened was Do you know this? Did I tell you? I told you what happened with the coin, right?
You should share the story though.
Yeah. So Aaron, another one of my friends in the game, he was the one to sacrifice himself last, and he broke the tie. But to get to that point, it was all obviously all him to be able to be willing to. But I think in terms of this game has really shown me that taking action, even when you are in a place that you might be scared, is so important, because you never know. You never know what action you think at the time might be insignificant or might not play out in your favor or anyone else's favor. There is a chance that it will work out better than you could have ever imagined. So in the tower, everyone else had given their coin back.
Yeah.
Almost everyone.
He requested the coin back.
Except for me.
Yeah.
I just had it in my pocket. And Aaron was talking before about would anybody be willing to sacrifice himself, or not sacrifice himself, but play a game of heads or tails, or flipping a coin between him and someone else to see who could go. And no one wanted to do that. Oh yeah.
Challenge you.
Oh yeah. And he was like looking at me, and there was about maybe 2 or 3 minutes left, and he's looking at me, and he's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm willing to risk it. And I pull that coin out of my pocket, and I'm like, are you okay? Here's a coin. Do you want to do heads or tails? He takes that thing, and he doesn't even say his choice out loud. He flips the coin, lands. I don't even know where it landed, because he didn't even let me see it. This is how much integrity Aaron had. He guessed, looked at it, didn't show anyone else. His head went down, and then he walked out. And my gosh, like what an amazing person to be able to do that, you know? Because he could have just, he didn't say anything. He could have just been like, oh yeah, nope, it's, I guessed right.
Yeah.
He didn't do it.
Dude, that story, I haven't told it a lot because I told it more in my earlier Beast Games podcast.
Sure.
The thing that stands out about that story is I hadn't met you yet, even though I was on that team. There's 60 people on that team, but we had so many believers on that team.
Mm-hmm.
And I had felt this feeling within me where I'd just been saved by the self-sacrifice rose, and I was like, I claim to be a follower of Jesus. Jesus sacrificed himself so that we could have eternal life.
Mm.
This has already happened to me, and now I'm in a situation where I can do that to others and help my team on 2-star. But I just didn't feel any calling in me. I just felt there was more for me. Mm-hmm. And Nellie felt the same. And we got in a circle and we prayed, like a fast circle. And you might have even prayed with us.
I did.
We prayed, God, put it on someone's heart. If you want us to stay here, put it on someone's heart. And in that game, we couldn't see the other team. The other team couldn't see us. Mm-hmm. And any amount of people could leave. Mm-hmm. And MrBeast wanted us to play rock, paper, scissors and eliminate half the people, or Rochambeau or whatever.
Sure.
But when Aaron flips the coin with himself and he walked out, and we won by one person, mm-hmm. so not a single life was wasted.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Right. It is crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I've told that story before, but what's more crazy that I'm just putting together is the symbolism of the coin in your game and in God's game through you, because not only did you flip the coin for $5 million, you flipped it to stay alive in the red cubes, which I had already known those two. But then you were the one who had the coin in your pocket when no one else had it.
Yep.
And I wonder, when I hear things like that, I'm just like, bro, did God just do that to, leave the, just to confirm it's him, to drop that, crazy cherry on top?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I felt it. And that was another contribution to me making the decision to flip the coin to change it from 5 to 10, because I felt so, like you said, you weren't called at that time to sacrifice yourself. In contrast, I wasn't either, but in contrast, that coin, man, I felt something external outside of my understanding was telling me it's going to work out.
And that decision, we got to talk about it because everyone wants to know. It seems completely illogical. You're in the top 6 out of 2,000 people. You've made it through 40-something challenges.
Yeah.
Flip the coin. You don't even get to keep the money. It's not just for you. It's for whoever wins.
Right.
Why do you flip the coin?
There are several factors. One, I was just coming out of from 10 to 6 on the towers with the phones. And I had essentially chosen to, I'm not going to say forced, because we all have a decision that we have to make. I could have chosen to let the outcome of what I thought was going to happen, being Queen and Courtney going through. And before I had made the decision to switch up and take the strategy that I had, which was essentially lie to everyone saying that I was going to vote for them, but didn't, and I voted for Mike. I felt like I owed it to everyone that was remaining, in a sense, to kind of put myself on the line to make up for that kind of decision. Kind of like how Jeff felt like he needed to give equal the money, that he had taken. He had taken a little bit more than he wanted to, and then he gave it the rest to us, or he distributed it evenly. I felt like I had to make up in some way. So I think sacrificing myself at that time was very much part of my decision to flip it. And then also, just having that coin there be the way in which I got through multiple games. That was like, I saw it and I'm like, oh man, I think this is my experience to have. And no matter what, I was okay. I was content with whatever was going to happen, because it was just so freaking cool. I mean, to flip a coin for $10 million what other opportunity you're going to have to do that? And Jeff saying, he was like, man, $10 million coin flip, like, it's going to be the first person to do it in history. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe there's I'm sure there's like some underground weird, like, circumstance that has someone else has done, maybe. But officially, Guinness World Record to be able to do that. So cool. So I took it.
I don't think anyone could.
You never know. You never know.
To have the Guinness World Record, which you asked them for a copy of.
I did.
Yeah. If you're watching.
Yeah.
Get Gage a copy of that Guinness World Record. I can't help but think how the internet would have reacted if you lost. Because it's so funny, because the internet, which you haven't read many of the comments, they balls of steel. This man is the GOAT. He deserves to win.
Even Logan made a reaction. Logan Paul made a reaction. Something to that effect. Yeah.
Well, I just believe that if you lost, the comments would have been,
what an idiot.
What an idiot.
Yeah, of course. That's what he deserves. How could you take that chance?
Make a decision so dumb.
Right.
Which is the funny pleasure of the internet.
Yep. No matter what, you're going to get judged.
Yeah.
So why not do what you feel is right or think is right?
Do you remember how you felt when you flipped it?
I felt, again, it was such a big moment that it was hard to feel a lot most of the time. I was using my head very much to kind of keep me sane, because I couldn't really feel my body a lot, and I knew that it was a bit very significant. But just the motion, like psychologically, like all those thoughts like came into my mind, I need to make up for what I did. I feel like it's just something spiritually was aligning me with those experiences with the coin, something super cool. So no matter what, I was going to be okay with that because of that opportunity. But as I was flipping it, yeah. Oh, also, another thing that was strange to me was Court had like told me before I even flipped it, she's like, I'm feeling tails. And that's what I was feeling too. So I think she might have known, or I told her about the tails thing. So maybe she was just like helping, like encourage me to do that. But that was another factor. And I just felt so good. And it was it was the best coin flip I've ever done in my life. And it went, dude, I mean, the way in which they edit the whole scene is so cool. But when it went straight up, straight down, landed, and then spun, was spinning. And as it landed, I already saw that it was going to be tails.
The spin, it looks like it's vertical, but really it's like
yes.
So it's kind of looping around the face.
Yeah, of the face that's going up, and tails was up like right away, instantly. It wasn't even a sense of relief. It was just like, yep, that's what I thought it was going to happen, and it happened. And I walk past it, and I walk to the side a little bit, and it's just like, and I see Jimmy, like, I think he was like delaying it as well, like delaying the reaction, or maybe he saw it right away, but it felt incredible to be able to know that I doubled the prize for someone or myself,
I mean, and this podcast is, everything's out, so you not only doubled the prize, you doubled it for Jeff.
Yeah.
Who's, again, I'm going to slip myself into this one, but think about me, you, and Jeremy being believers. And I know a prayer Jeremy had, maybe not the exact same words, and a prayer I had was, God, let this money end up in the hands of someone it won't destroy, and someone who can handle it and will use it and has a plan. And it just, if you asked me who that person was, I would have said Jeff. Jeremy would have said Jeff.
Yep. I say Jeff.
Would have said Jeff, and you got to double that prize money. I mean, Jeremy picked him on the helicopter.
Yep.
I didn't do much except fall to my key, which was gonna happen if anyone else on my team did it. But it's just a beautiful story, because $5 million is such a big jump for him. It's double. It's double what we all thought we were playing for the whole time.
Yeah. What a twist.
What a twist. There was another thing we talked about, because I asked you, do you remember how you're feeling? The reason I asked you that question is because a phenomenon I noticed, and Courtney and Emma actually gave it a name. I can't remember the name. It was it was some 3-letter acronym, like PDA, like Beast Game Trauma Disassociation or something.
Okay.
I wish, I'll have Emma text it to me and I'll put it right here. But I do think the name's a little dramatic. Like, it's not traumatic when you're in the show, but there is this thing where whenever you do a challenge, you do a coin flip, you do something big. I mean, for me, I think about the bar. You're more present than you've ever been. Mm-hmm. Like, when I'm hanging up on that bar, I ain't thinking about anything except just win. Just stay on this bar.
Right.
You're more present than you've ever been.
Yep.
Completely sober.
Yep.
In a moment that will be stained in your memory. But then when it's done and, like, someone asks you about it, it feels so, like, fuzzy and, like, you almost, like, black out.
Yeah.
It feels like you're thinking about, like, for super lack of better content, it feels like you're thinking about a night you blacked out. Even though when you're in the moment, you felt so present.
Yep. I think, you're so in it that when you try to recollect the emotions associated with it, it's hard. It's hard to describe because it's presence. You're there. Your mind, body, spirit, everything are aligned with what is going on right then, right there. And after that moment, it's kind of, it leaves you because it was so, everything that you have was tied into that experience or that moment in time. That's how I felt a lot about the whole game in general. It was very emotionally draining, because it was just that we were at such a heightened level of, dopamine, all that stuff was spiked up so much. It was incredible.
It's a bunch of regular activities with the craziest stakes.
Yes.
Unimaginable. Flipping a coin. Waiting on a bar. Having a conversation.
Yes.
In a room. Thank you for watching the episode. Please consider subscribing if you're enjoying the episode. If you subscribe, then I will get to invest in better guests like Gage, and I'll get to improve the show, improve the cameras, the quality, and make a better product for you. So please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you. So you flip the coin. Yessie boofs the memory game, although she actually would have done pretty good.
She had it.
But
except for the first move.
It's one of those things where I think she probably serious, but it played out how it was meant to be. You're in the top 3. Envelope. Who's the most popular? Who do people want to eliminate? You believe your name's in the envelope.
Yeah. From my understanding, it was who was most, well known, who was most or in the envelope, who was least known, who made the least amount of connections. And there were a lot of underlying circumstances that allowed me to feel the way in which I did. Just, I guess, going into the train challenge, I felt like I was under the radar with a lot of people. And I thought, people didn't really, it's not that they didn't like me, because that's the whole kind of thing that they present on the show, is that, I didn't feel liked, or I didn't feel popular, but it was just more that Tawana and Jeff were more present. They were more outstanding people / characters within the game, more respected. I felt like they had more skill in being able to build connections and communicate with others. And my gosh, well, I don't know if do you want to go straight into the results, or do you want to go into...
I was going to say too, you were told, from my understanding, something that made you believe least known. Mm-hmm. But you didn't, because you're one of the 3, you didn't participate in the voting. And I participated. I think I was probably in the first group that did the vote.
Yeah, so how did they frame that?
So I'm sure you've heard, but from your perspective, you wouldn't have gotten a good idea. Because I totally understand why you thought your name was in the book. Because if you're just thinking least known, and you're thinking Jeff talks to everyone, he's loved by everyone. Mm-hmm. Tawana is also loved by everyone, and she's been captain twice.
Right.
I totally see why you would go, I'm not in the mix. But the way the voting worked was they gave you a picture of everyone left in the game, and they said, put who you want to win in first, who you want to win in second. And for me, since we were the first people to do it, we had to do it for like 50 faces.
Yeah, so it was 50, okay.
It was everyone left in the game.
Yeah.
And even though physical gets out later in the real game,
sure,
physical got first out in filming, and therefore I had Jeremy on my board, I had people from mental and chance.
Got it.
And you put it in order, and because there's so many people, I wouldn't say it was like perfect. You kind of just, did the first 10, and then
right,
you maybe did your last 10, and then kind of just threw the rest. But I was confident that your name wouldn't be in it, because I think that Tawana, I think she was kind of known by everyone because of the leader roles. Yeah. And she was liked, but I didn't... really talk to anyone who said Tawana's my best friend or she's my number one person I want to win.
Yeah.
And I think you were less spread out and known as they were, but I think that you were a lot of people's like top 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. I mean, you were in my top 5, I think.
Wow.
And I'm fairly positive you were in my top 5. So, I imagine
Thank you.
in a lot of people's top 5. So it is interesting when you think about it from that perspective. Though, let's say you knew the results ahead of time. Do you take the $1 million bribe or no?
Yeah.
If you knew you weren't in the envelope,
Yeah.
you're still taking it.
Still taking it. Yeah. And I even said that after. I said that right after I found out the results that Tawana was in there. I said, I'm glad that I took it, because in that moment, and even still, knowing the results and everything, you know, I am so happy that she was able to have that opportunity, at least, to, because she's a fighter, right? I mean, she's awesome. I really respected her game. She was very, very smart. And obviously, Jeff winning was just, you couldn't ask for anything better. Oh my gosh, it's movie. It's the ending that you want to a movie. If Beast Games was a movie, kind of is, but it's the ending you want. I mean, him being able to contribute to the research for Lucas to find a cure is just, it's incredible.
I don't think that you can think like this for a majority of the show, but toward the top 10 and less, something you do want to think about is how have people said they're going to spend the money. Mm-hmm. You can't think like that before the top 10, because then you're just screwing yourself. You don't even know if whoever you has a good chance, whoever has the best motive is going to make it, so it's done to think like that before. Sure. But when you're in there in the top 10, $1 million is going to change your life.
Yep.
You've expressed this desire to build a van, to play music. Less than $1 million worth of assets needed for that.
Right.
And Jeff wants to solve rare diseases, and Tawana wants to build a homeless shelter, and help kids.
Yeah.
And I think that if I was in your position, I would have done the exact same thing. And I don't even think I would have thought I was in the envelope, but I think I still would have taken the $1 million, just because it makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
how are you feeling when that happened?
I mean, I felt like I won the game. I felt like I had won the game with the decisions that I made. I doubled the prize money. I was able to bow out with $1 million and give 2 very, very deserving people the opportunity to be in the final and fight for it. And I going into this, I never dreamed that I would be in that position. You can always hope, but I really wanted to, kind of like my whole experience and my personality, kind of like I'm very kind of laid back and reserved, but I never thought that it would come to that, and to be able to come away with the experience that I had is just incredible. And in that moment, I really, part of me felt guilty, because I thought it was Tawana's to take, the $1 million. She had already sacrificed multiple times $1 million. And I asked her, I was like, hey, I asked her first, I turned to her and I'm like, hey, do you want this $1 million? And she's like, no. She turns to the camera. She's like, I'm not taking this for nothing. And then I turned to Jeff and I'm like, hey, do you want this? And he said, no, he's going all the way with it, his intent to again, find the cures. So I took it. I didn't want to take that opportunity from them in case, but also I didn't want to not come away with anything. I know I couldn't even imagine like not coming that far and then not. So after taking it, I don't know if we can go into me dropping, coming back and seeing everyone, seeing Emma, seeing Yessie, seeing Courtney. I felt really guilty. So it was hard for me to really like be happy. Like I was happy, obviously, but it was like the reality really sunk in. It's like these people that I have been sharing this last month with that are just as deserving to be there didn't get that monetary, gratification. And I think moving forward, because of this and because of that gift that I've been given, because, you said earlier that you didn't know what Jeff meant about earning it. And I think there is a sense of earning
versus deserve.
Yeah, earning versus deserving. I think we did earn it in terms of getting through and all of the little micro decisions that played into being in the final six. But I think it was a gift. Like the whole experience felt like a gift. And moving forward, I want to be able to, as best as I can, help others and help the people that were further along in the game as much as I can, either monetarily or with my time or with my effort, and obviously legally I'm not helping anyone, but
That's hilarious.
But at the same time, with experience and with my time and effort, I think is super important to me, to just kind of even out everything. Because I wish, in a perfect world, we could all share it, right? Kind of like going back to the million, and we could all have taken $100,000. That's how I felt. I was like, we could have all had something, but I want it because it's under my control. I can do the best I can with the money, be a good steward of that experience and that reward.
Yeah, you said a lot of interesting things. I think I do understand the earning versus deserving. When Jeff says I didn't deserve it, it's like he didn't do $10 million worth of work.
If you look at it, sure, in terms of trading your hours or an hourly job or whatever. Yeah, sure.
But he was put in a game show where there was a $10 million cash prize.
Yeah.
And outside of every aspect of luck, and even influencing some of the aspects of luck, he earned it by making the best decisions possible every time. Right.
Within that framework, within that experience, he did everything necessary to be able to come out on top.
And so did you. You made the best decisions possible.
Well, when the decisions were necessary, sure. A lot of everything was out of our control, of course, but yeah.
But and then I think about you saying you came back to the top six and that guilt feeling. I feel like, you briefly hinted at this, but I wonder if you would have had that feeling if JC and Michael had both taken $100,000 and everyone got $100,000, because then at least you'd be like, hey, we got here. I got the $1 million, but $100,000, especially to most of those Emma, Yessie, Courtney, I think they would have all been thrilled.
Yeah.
To just have $100,000.
We would have all been really thrilled, yeah.
So, but definitely. Then it feels horrible that the two people who took money didn't make it in the top six, so they're not the people you're greeting. You're greeting the people who just got screwed out of money.
Yeah.
And then I imagine you're saying you already had guilt from a little bit from the phone games.
Yeah, of course.
And then you did what you did. you jumped ahead, you flipped the coin, and you won the million. So I just imagine that's an interesting roller coaster.
It very much was. It was, I mean, they did such an amazing job with like congratulating me, and like they were happy for me. It was great. So they made me feel very like loved and worth winning. You know, it was nice to come back to them. But yeah, again, it was kind of an intrinsic feeling of, gosh, I wish we could have at least all had $100,000.
And we talked about God earlier, but how did this game affect your relationship with God?
Oh man, so much closer. It's like, I feel like it's almost like people are, I always look at my experience or how I feel through the eyes of maybe someone else that doesn't understand, like that didn't go through it or wasn't me. But for me, if I was seeing someone that just won $1 million on a game show, you know, I would say, oh, of course, you know, of course they're closer to God now because they won $1 million, and like this whole experience is like, it's worth it. And, you know, but correlating the money to the amount of money that you win to, correlating the money to, or any sort of prize to your connection with God is, I think, somewhat irrelevant, because if I would have not won anything, I was so blessed with connection, and not only with him, but the people that I can see him through. Jeremy, shout out to Jeremy. My gosh, he was such an amazing figure in the whole show for me. He brought me in and was willing to kind of invest his time and energy into helping me with my faith, and I looked up to him very much and still do. And I think within the game, there were so many people. You stepped out. You put yourself out there, and I don't know how you feel, but I mean, did it make you feel uncomfortable at all trying to do what you know God had intended for you in terms of speaking and like preaching and telling everyone about Jesus?
Going into any public environment and saying something that you know will not go over well with everyone is a little nerve-wracking. It's like going into a large crowd of people that you could potentially spend a month with and being like, I love Trump. You know,
right.
You know, some people are going to like it. Some people are going to hate it.
Yeah.
People are going to see you differently. But Jesus is not Trump.
That's for sure.
Jesus, I mean, I believe Jesus is the way to eternal life.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just come off the death of my brother, and I thought, my one prayer was, God, would you let my brother's death turn into other people's eternities? So that gave me a very eternal mindset. I think I had more of a winning mindset. It became a little bit more eternal, though I still wanted to win. But I always remind myself, whenever I'm in a situation where I get nervous, because I do get nervous to talk about Jesus, to pray in public, to do these things. But whenever I get in a situation, I just try to think about people and Christians in the Middle East who can be thrown in jail, who can be killed, martyred. People still are martyred for the gospel today. People are thrown in jail for the gospel today. I think about the apostles. Peter, who famously denied Jesus 3 times, and then when he died, he said, I'm not worthy to die the same way Jesus died, so if you crucify me upside down. And I run myself through those stories, and I'm like, okay, I'm scared about now praying with a crowd of people, and Peter's out here getting crucified upside down, and people are dying in the Middle East. And there's going to be people listening to this who aren't Christian, and if you don't believe Jesus is the way to eternal life, then none of this will make sense. I always tell people, even if Jesus wasn't the way to eternal life, but everything else was the same, I still think Jesus is the best way to improve your life. But with that said, I wouldn't care to share Jesus with anyone who didn't bring it up to me first. Because, like, I might share working out with someone, I might share eating healthy, how these stopped drinking alcohol, how these habits made my life better. So just like Jesus has made my life better, I would share him in that way. But if I didn't believe Jesus was the way to eternal life, I would not share him publicly. I would not profess him openly. Because it's just like unnecessary controversy. But I do believe he's the way to eternal life. I believe he's the only way to eternal life. Yeah. And therefore, I think
you're convicted.
It would be the most unloving thing I could ever do to someone would be not to tell them about Jesus.
Right.
And then I think to add something to really show the stakes of that, I'm grateful that you asked me this question and give me an opportunity to explain this.
Of course.
I think to add the stakes to that, there is people I've shared Jesus with in the game, in life, who liked me less because I shared Jesus.
Right.
And who will potentially forever like me less. And I knew that when I told it to them. And now I knew that they were going to like me less, or I assumed that they were going to like me less. Now they actually like me less. It's probably going to be that way forever. But I love Jesus so much, and I love that person so much, that I'm willing to let them like me less and be uncomfortable forever on the rare chance that one moment they say, let me consider what Auzi's saying, let me believe on Jesus, and therefore we can spend eternity together. And, you know, me and Jeff were talking about definitions for love.
Yeah.
And he had said, I want for you what you want for you. And then in the Bible it says, there's no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends, which we saw all throughout the game. Self-sacrifice rose, 2-star, even a little aspect of your bribe, although you got that money. But I do think we had put a caveat on Jeff's definition of love. I want for you what you want for you. And even when you want something that's not good for you, I want what's better for you.
Right.
Essentially.
Right.
And I want people to know Jesus so they can spend eternity with him.
Right.
And I want them to want that.
Right.
But even when they don't want it, I'm going to try to give it to them because I know it's what's best for them.
Right. Because we believe in who really knows what's best. It's Jesus.
It's Jesus. And like you said, you had said $1 million. It's so easy to say I got close to God when you win the $1 million, but take it from someone who I went as far as you could. I was literally the last person to get out where you don't get a bonus in money because I got 22nd place. If you got on the train game, you got an extra 5,000.
Oh, really? I didn't even actually know that.
If you got on the train,
oh wow,
an extra 5,000.
Okay.
Then if you were in the top 10, you split the $1 million. Now, of course, Patrick took 0, and yes, he spent all the money, but it doesn't change the fact that they got extra money and then they gave it away. And then everyone else from there got split the $1 million, the $1 million bride, Jeff, Tuana, 100K.
Sure.
So I literally went as far as you could without getting a bonus of money. Then I got ridiculed online. Like 90% of the messages I get from people who watch the show are just hate messages.
Really?
I mean, it's not like a flood, but...
What the heck, you guys?
But I'm telling you, it brought me closer to God than I've ever been. And I was already close to God before.
Yeah.
And I've listed out the reasons before, but I think creation speaks to the creator. The world tries to distract us of creation. I think that's why we're all on our phones. The game took away all our phones. And then we're looking at God's ultimate creation, which is humans. Genesis 1:27, God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. So we're looking at his greatest creation. We're spending hours per day conversating and experiencing his greatest creation. We got to see the beauty, like going into Panama, like seeing an island like that, and just you could see all of God's wonder through
It's incredible. It's incredible.
And then the things that bring people together are shared suffering
Yeah.
and shared missions.
Right.
And every day you're losing friends together. You're going through these hard challenges. You're sharing suffering. And you also have the shared mission. Get further in the game together with your best friends. And
Right.
so it's the perfect connection it's the perfect way to connect and experience God. But
Oh, yeah.
the thing that really improved my faith is I always prayed my whole life. Prayed before bed, prayed with my family occasionally, and, in a group setting at church.
Sure.
Never really prayed with my friends. Certainly never prayed with strangers.
Really? Before this?
Not really. Yeah,
Okay.
very rarely. I evangelize a little bit. I tell people about Jesus. But
Yeah.
Jeremy just, all the way from Las Vegas, let's pray with these people. Let's pray with strangers. Let's pray with friends. And I didn't realize how powerful that is. Not only because it's real and God hears it, but because when you do something like prayer, it's really an intimate act. And even if someone doesn't believe in God, when you ask if you could pray for them and they know how important God is to you, you're subinvertently telling them how important they are to you.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yes, and so many people just, dude, prayer, I miss the prayers. I love studying the Bible with you, and dude, I've never seen God move like he moved in that game. Everything. I told you this, but physical challenge went a day before mental and chance. I made it home from Toronto one day before my brother's funeral. Had no phone to know it was going to be that day. It was on a Thursday. I didn't even know people did funerals on a Thursday. God literally let me stay in the game as long as I could to make that. Baptized 2 girls on the island. One of them being Courtney, who's one of our best friends. Just seeing how that's played out in her life and all she's overcome since. Nelly, who had a ministry, he's 24 years old. He was my partner in crime. He was in one of the rows that would have been deleted, and they just changed his number to be next to me.
Wow.
Everyone else's number who got changed was above 1,000, but this guy in the 100s randomly got changed to be next to me. Has a ministry.
That's cool. That's, yeah.
Jeremy, I met him in Las Vegas. Jeremy's lost 2 brothers. I lost my brother after Las Vegas. Had Jeremy to talk to.
Wow.
There's so many things. I mean, I don't want to make numbers a big deal, but we could get weird about numbers. 435, I hung on the bar with Michael, 453. 974, third place. 947, fourth place.
Yep.
830, second place.
831,
first place.
Yeah.
There's just so many weird things, so many divine weird things with that game.
I normally didn't correlate, numbers too much. I thought, coincidental.
Yeah.
But even, it was...
The numbers divine. I'm just saying it's a cool,
sure
thing.
It's cool. It's very interesting, to say the least. I know there's a whole subsection of people that, what is it, numerology or whatever?
Spiritual people are going to be like, it's not Jesus. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
These angel numbers. No, we reject.
Yeah.
I reject that.
But it's very weird. And I think, God uses correlations, and which way is it, is that happening because of God interfering and allowing his messages to be brought forth, or is it just we're seeing these random correlations and then associating it with the divine? Either way, we're connecting it with the divine, and I think it's so special. And I think that as long as, for me, it's strengthened my faith significantly, just with all of these connections, and not only connections with incidents that have happened, or experiences, but just the people, like you said, people are put in your life for a reason, and you can either utilize that. You have the choice, I believe. You have the choice to use those connections and those relationships for good or not, even connections that you perhaps would not see as a benefit to you, you are able to find the good, find the good in those connections. And I mean, even recently in my relationship with Patrick, you know, both of us have been through a lot of similar experiences and a lot of similar things in our life, and things that we haven't really, that really haven't benefited us at all. In fact, the complete opposite. But being able to talk about those things, being able to relate and strengthen each other through that pain is like so amazing. I don't think I would have been able. I've always tried, you know, to really see the good and find the best in certain experiences, and sometimes it's hard, you know, but I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and it's how you go about. So how you go about it after the fact, you know, because we're in control of it to some degree, but I feel like this whole game has shown me that the sentiment of you cannot control what happens, or you cannot control others, but you can only control how you react. That was everything. That was the message to me. That was very, very clear. And we could either act in love and forgiveness, or we can build up resentment. And, you know, there's things that have happened in the game that, you know, I could have totally resented other people, but, you know, we all go through pain. We don't know what each other's experiences are to an extent, unless we share them. And I feel like that's the most important thing, is to be able to be, I guess, comfortable enough, or be able to be open enough to relate to each other through each other's like pain, to be able to then heal. And I think that's like another big lesson that I've learned through this.
Beast Games really equipped unlikely friendships. There's not many scenarios where I'm going to meet someone like you who's 10 years older than me. Not even someone like Matt, who's like 28, I want to say. Jeff, 44.
Yeah.
Weston and Knight, they live in San Diego, 18 years old. I always thought like it was weirder to have a lot younger friends. 23, that's like, they're so much younger than me that they don't feel so much younger. I've learned so much. I've learned as much from Jeff at 44 as I have from Knight and Weston. And even another crazy God thing, Knight, the kid who was right in front of me, 18 years old, is a Christian, 434, lives 15 minutes away from me. Like, what are the odds that 434 would be a Christian who lives 15 minutes away from me? We're best friends now.
That's wild.
Entrepreneur, creator, has had a top 1% podcast in high school.
Wow.
So just like little things, but something I love about the podcast career is you get to make unlikely friendships.
Yeah.
But the game made that really accessible for me at an exponential level, and just for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's been such a blessing.
Yeah.
To actually act on those relationships. We were just in Vegas yesterday with Yessie, Courtney, Patrick, saw Gage, saw Jeff.
That's me.
Saw Jeremy.
Yeah.
Patrick saw Jordan.
Yep.
We were with Emma last week. Like, these relationships are real.
They are real. Guys, I've always been thought as it was weird for people to, like, you know, go through a show or whatnot, and then you see them hanging out. Patrick and I were actually just talking about this, you know, you see other reality shows or other things, and like they connect with people, and then you see them hanging out and they become friends, and you're like, nah, that's not, I mean, come on. But man, these people, seriously, I'm hoping that they are like lifelong friends. And I mean, obviously it all depends on our effort, individually to be able to make the connection last. But I really want to make these connections last, and I'm very pulled to these people, and including you. And life is crazy sometimes, and I still have the feeling that less is more. Tower 2. Yeah. But I feel like the quality over quantity. But there's so many people from the show that are such quality people. It's been so awesome to be able to hear everyone out and then learn a lot more about myself through these relationships, including you, dude. I mean, you say that you look up to me. I look up to you as well, because I think we both have that wanting and longing for relationships that not only are beneficial, but will continue. I can see us continually growing together in this community that has been built for us. It's weird. It's like this whole built-in community that we will probably be together in the future soon with other projects. Who knows? You never know. But I can't wait, and I'm very happy to, anytime I see someone from Beast Games, I'm like, I really want to connect with them again.
And being so close, I mean, not to hyper divine everything, but I feel there's a reason you're one of the people that happens to live pretty close to me. I feel there's a reason that Knight, who got out on episode 1. Yep. Episode 1 and episode 10, both equally put in my life by God, I feel. And I think a really good summation of what we've been talking about with relationships and God is something Maddie said. We were at the hotel bar.
Oh, except for Maddie. I don't really like Maddie, actually.
Oh,
just kidding, Maddie. everyone but Maddie.
I want to say a really tragic Maddie line.
Oh, no.
So I think Maddie had a really good summation when we were doing the Bible study in the hotel, and she said her dad died after the game. And she said, people in Beast Games have comforted me and been there more for me with my dad's passing than the friends and people I expected to. And I was like, wow, that's beautiful, and it's real. And there's another thing I wanted, a story C.S. Lewis said. When you talk about getting to know God better through people who reflect Him, C.S. Lewis was in a group of friends. They were a trio. They were a best friend trio. And I can't remember their names, so we'll just call them John and Patrick. Well, probably John and Patrick.
All right.
Jack, John, and Patrick. C.S. Lewis, John, and Patrick. And Patrick died in their old age. And they were really sad about it, but they said, you know what? Maybe me and John will get closer. Because, I mean, we love Patrick. We've always been a trio, but now that he's gone, this will make my bond with John be even stronger. But what he found out is that this bond with John actually got weaker. And the reason it got weaker is because Patrick brought out traits in John that C.S. Lewis couldn't bring out himself. And the reason he shares the story in this metaphor is the more people you're around who have a relationship with God, the more aspects of God they're going to reflect uniquely.
Yep.
Because God has a unique relationship with everyone.
Right.
And it's beautiful.
That is beautiful. It's amazing. Yeah, the idea, and I mean, it's true. Like certain people, people aren't replaceable. Definitely not. We each have our own unique way of being, and the effect, you're right, the effect we have on people are unique, and how our relationships are constructed are unique just even being around certain people, you know, you can feel a different elevation or a depletion of mood. And I think that a lot of people in Beast Games totally heighten my perception of what relationships can be. And I will always, thank God. I will always thank God for that and the lessons that I've learned and been able to take away from the game. Not even just articulated messages, but just messages that I can, you know, you stare at someone, you look at someone, and it just intrinsically, from an external, intrinsically instills something in you that makes you think of something, and then just it goes on. It's like little, you know, planting seeds. You never know what's going to happen, and you never know what can come from one conversation or a smile or something super small. It sounds super cheesy, I know, but you know, you just don't know what can happen if you're making the effort, either subconsciously or consciously. I try to be as conscious as I can. I try to be respectful as I can to people that I don't know. And that's a whole nother, I don't know if you want to delve into the topic of the effect that this game or this show has on people that weren't a part of it, you know, as a participant, but people that have watched the show. I feel like you as a content creator and other people that are content creators and have been a part of the show are ambassadors for the show. And not only, obviously we can only control what we do, but I really hope and pray that the show and all the lessons and connections that we've built are able to continue on in the content that you create, the content that I create, and we're able to spread love, spread God.
Gage, tell the people where they can find you.
Well, you can find me mostly, at least right now, on Instagram at Gage Gallagher. I'm going to be making, I have a YouTube channel, Gage Gallagher, and I'm going to be posting some covers and content. I have a couple projects coming out, but I don't even have a TikTok, but actually I do. It's at Gage Gallagher. So I'll be posting that, and I'm having a lot of people in my friend group that are like, post. You need to be posting now, Jeremy. Don't worry, I am going to be posting.
I'll have everything linked below. And I also want to give myself an editing reminder to put in Gage's Beast Game song.
I also wrote a song. It says to impress you, so I wrote a song. This could be the theme song.
Who are you going to be? Not all of you is just what you see. Coming to the play for the money or fame. Win or lose, it's all you play. So come do your best, and that's all I test. Beast Games.
For the application video.
Oh, yeah.
Those of you who watched this deep. But yeah, that's good. That's the end of the episode. We'll wrap it up with a hug and say goodbye to Beast Game Pods.
Oh, let's redo that. That was, no, keep that in, because that was so awkward, but also because it's funny. Let's do it. All right. Love you, bud.
Bro, that's funny.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, it was a blast.